JDs and Letterman, kings and queens, hosses and hoss sets. The one gun you absolutely have to have, the general purpose rifle. But what is that? What's it do? Why is it even important? Well, for starters, it can do this. But it can also do this. So what is a general purpose rifle? It's the gun that can get those 600, 700 meter hits when you need good, precise hits on target. But you can also come in the CQB pit and put some work in. It's a home defense rifle. It's the gun that can do everything. And in my opinion, guys, it's the most important AR-15 that you could possibly own. If there was only one AR-15, guys, this is going to be it. So pay attention and let's talk about how we're going to kit this rifle for maximum effectiveness. But first, boys, we got to talk about small business, and that is AIM Surplus. This is small business supporting small business. These are the goats of the 2A industry. They get the stuff that nobody else can. They have a huge nationwide online presence, top tier customer service, just great, knowledgeable dudes. This is what it's all about. The boys supporting the boys. Got to give those dudes a huge shout out. So thank you. Now, general purpose. Now, we know that we're going to use this as the general purpose rifle. We have to ask ourselves, how do we plan on employing this rifle? How do we plan on using it most of the time? First thing we have to decide is going to be barrel length. In my opinion, there's going to be 3 different options for you. It is going to depend on how you plan to employ this general purpose rifle. I think my 3 favorite barrel lengths of all of these general purpose rifles is going to be something like a 13.5 to 13.7, a 14.5 inch, and a 16-inch gun. While I can't answer exactly how you are going to use this rifle, we're going to talk about which of these barrel lengths excel at what. So if we're talking like the 60-40 split, somebody who does a little bit more of the 2-gun style matches, CQB, home defense, with the other 40% being like the precision work, the target work, the SPR kind of matches. With that, I'm going to go with the 13.5 to the 13.9. You still have enough muzzle velocity to reach out to those 600-meter targets, no problem, but we've cut the overall length by a couple inches. Now, with the 14.5, I'm going to call this like the 50-50 split rifle. In my opinion, the 14.5 is one of my most favorite barrel lengths out there, period. It's the pinnacle, in my opinion, of do-it-all general purpose combat carbine. Then we move to the 16-inch. This is going to get you a little bit extra muzzle velocity over that 14.5 and a pretty fair amount over that 13.5. 60% of your work is going to be the SPR match kind of style work, precision shooting, and the rest of it is going to be that general purpose 100 yards and in. I just can't get over how light these guns are when you don't have any attachments on. Anyways, guys, for my style of shooting and what I'm doing the most of right now is that 60-40 split of more SPR work and a little less stuff inside of here. So we've got our 16-inch gun. Now, guys, we have gathered an array of different attachments from optics, lasers, weapon-mounted lights, bipods, charging handles, you name it. We rated the parts bin and we've got them all sprawled out here. We're going to talk about the absolute mandatory attachments that you need on this general purpose rifle. And then we're going to talk about these options that aren't necessarily mandatory, but still things that can help make you an asset, things that can help excel in performance, but again, not mandatory. First thing first, guys, we have to talk about optics. Optic is the #1 thing that you need to put on your gun. It's 2025. You need an optic on here. Let's talk about which ones we need to consider. First thing we got to talk about, guys, is just going to be a simple red dot sight. A very, very easy to use. You know exactly what it is. You know exactly what it's going to do. A base power of 1 magnification with a red dot sight on there. Now, where my problem lies with just the red dot sight on the general purpose rifle isn't necessarily that it's inadequate, because it absolutely is adequate. You're going to get those good solid hits, 300, 400 yards, as long as you do your part. The problem with that is that you don't have any magnification. And magnification allows you to get a more precise point of aim, and it's going to help you get that PID on your target. You're a responsible gun owner. You're going to PID before you pull that trigger, which is why, in my opinion, the red dot sight, while it absolutely is adequate, in my opinion, it's not the best choice for this general purpose do-it-all combat carbine. In my opinion, at the very least, we need some sort of magnifier. So we're going to look at like things like the EOTech with a magnifier, an aim point with a magnifier, or even like the SIG Romeo 5 with a magnifier on there. My problem with the magnifier is I remember the very first time I looked through one, and this is like probably 2014, 2013. It was a Daniel Defense with an EOTech and a magnifier, like pinnacle cool guy of 2013. I remember the first thing, I popped the carbine up and I'm like, this kind of sucks. Like this kind of sucks. This is not ideal, boys. Here's what I find lacking with aim point magnifier combination, EOTech magnifier combination, is that you have a terrible eye relief and you have a terrible eye box. They're just genuinely lacking and performance. That's not to say that you can't use them. No, that would be silly. They do work, and they work actually pretty well. But when we're talking about pure performance of your magnifier, I think they just kind of lack. While most of these dots in the reticles have the big circle, 32 MOA, you can kind of use to help place area hit targets, it's not going to really give you that super precise point of aim like a real reticle would on, say, an LPVO. Now, before we go, we got to talk about the ACOG. In my opinion, guys, I'm not a big fan of the ACOG. Is it cool? Yes, absolutely. You got all the drip, all the vibes of the Global War on Terror. However, in my opinion, a fixed power optic beyond 1 power in 2025 is just kind of silly. Which leads me to the next option. Guys, the low-powered variable optic, the LPVO. In my opinion, the LPVO is just synonymous with the general purpose do-it-all combat kind of carbine. You have a base power of 1 magnification, but you also get 6 to 8 power magnification as well. And you have a super nice reticle that is etched into this. You don't need batteries to operate this thing. If your batteries go dead, guess what? You can still use this. I think, in my opinion, when it comes to the LPVO, its biggest pro is going to be being able to PID and getting a more precise point of aim. I can't stress it enough how important PID is in being able to place a good solid hit, that's 600, 700 yards, with a good precise point of aim. Having 8 power magnification is a literal superpower when you're talking about the gun that can do it all. And in my opinion, this is going to be my #1 choice. I really like a good quality LPVO on that 1 power setting. I'm always running this thing on 1 power until I need extra magnification. And if I need extra magnification, I've built a stable shooting position, or I have enough distance between me and the target to be able to take that half second and throw this lever. Now, I like to run my LPVO with a piggyback dot on the top of it. Why do I do that? Well, it serves as 2 different functions. 1, this is a backup iron sight. You no longer need backup irons when you have your primary optic with an etched reticle that the batteries can't die on. But in the event that this goes down, something happens to it, you still have your red dot on the top of it. And I use a Trijicon RMR. They're bulletproof. They always work. So you have a backup iron sight built into it right here. But also, you guys with nods, you can passively aim with this thing. It makes it much easier to get this thing up a little bit higher. And you got your big old nods that you're not cracking off your glass here. Ultimately, guys, weigh the pros and cons between each of these optics. What I say isn't always final. What works best for you guys is what's going to work best for you. What works best for me isn't always the best and most final option. Vet your equipment, make sure that it works just for you. Now, we need to talk about the next absolutely mandatory attachment on this general purpose rifle, and it's going to be a weapon mounted light. So let's talk about a few different options here. We have a lot more rail space. This isn't a CQB gun. We're going to be using this in a little bit more wide variety of shooting situations. You could be shooting 600, 700 meters. You could be shooting 5 meters. With a general purpose rifle, you need a weapon mounted light that can kind of, well, do it all. So we're going to talk about a few here. There's Surefire, there's Streamlight, there's Mod Light. Those 3 are my top favorites. Those lights have always treated me very well. Surefire especially, that's my #1 choice. But besides brand, we need to make sure that it can do it all. When we say do it all, what does that mean? We're talking about the throw, the pitch of the actual weapon mounted light. When we're talking about guns that shoot over 100 yards, 200-300, we need a little bit more of a focused beam. That's not to say we need a gigantic mega spotlight on this thing. No, absolutely not. I cannot recommend against that enough. But what we can do is get a little bit bigger Surefires like this that have a much more condensed and very direct throw and pitch. More of that mini spotlight feel, but of course without the size. Things like the Mod Light, the PLH V2 head, that's going to give you more spill. That is going to be more ideal for that CQB kind of environment, but it's going to work out to like 100 yards. Beyond that, I think lights that have a lot more spill aren't going to crush at that. So you guys decide how you guys are going to employ this gun. For this build, we're going to go ahead and do the Streamlight. So let's get that on here. All right, so we got our weapon mounted light on this thing. One quick thing I want to talk about is a tape switch. A tape switch, in my opinion, isn't necessarily mandatory, but it is a good quality of life improvement. Not having to take your positive control off the rifle of your C-clamp and turn your wrist over to click the tail cap. It's much easier if you just go bang, bang, just like that. Not mandatory, but a good quality of life improvement. As far as wire management goes and keeping a tape switch on here, guys, rubber band, some hockey tape. Don't overthink that. Wrap it a few times. That'll help keep those wires from getting snagged on stuff and also keep the tape switch on here. Next, we got to talk, guys, about a muzzle device. There are 2 different options, in my opinion, for this gun. For this general purpose rifle, I'm not going to go with a break. I'm going to go with a flash hider if I don't want a can on this gun. Me personally, unless this is some sort of like target or precision gun,
I don't like the muzzle brake. They create a lot of flash. Your homies are gonna absolutely hate you if you're running one next to them. It just doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense to me. Plus, these general purpose rifles are gonna be a little bit more compact than, say, like your SPR kind of gun. So adding a can onto this isn't going to be the worst thing ever and isn't gonna make it feel too musket-like. But when it comes to a can, I will say that I suggest something that is more of like a K can, something that's smaller than like a total full-size can, those 6-7-inch cans. I prefer something short and something stubby. With these shorter and stubbier cans, guys, I feel like it doesn't add a ton overall length, and it makes the combat carbine kind of just more, I don't know, a little bit more wieldy. Those super long cans, they just don't make a ton of sense. And in my opinion, I am just gonna completely disregard those. When you get to that like 13.5, you can probably get away with adding another 1 to 2 inches. But the thing of it is we have to think this overall length, we're trying to keep this a little bit more manageable. The next mandatory option that we need to talk about, guys, is going to be a sling. Sling is absolutely imperative to have on your combat carbine, this general purpose rifle. If you don't have one, you are a liability, you're not an asset. Being able to stow your carbine away and being able to use both of your hands instead of doing this situation like I'm doing right now, because I don't have a sling on it, yeah, that makes you a liability. It's a superpower to be able to use both of your hands here, guys, while you still have your carbine attached to your body. If you have to run and you need to move, you don't have to worry about, oh, let me get my carbine up off the floor. No, bad decision. Get a sling on your weapon. My personal suggestion for a sling is it's gotta be a 2-point. In my opinion, I really love these Tang slings. It's a small business. I know this guy personally, Vinny Tang. He's an old Marine. He hand makes these things in the United States. Awesome, awesome stuff. Good quality gear, million different camo. Love them. So we basically have like a fully built out carbine here. I think honestly, at this point, any other attachments that we add to this firearm are just going to be kind of enhancements to the carbine. I don't think any of these extra attachments here are going to be mandatory. It's going to be very subjective. I do think adding some of these is going to help you excel with the carbine's performance, but not necessarily make you more lethal in a sense. So the next thing we need to talk about is going to be some sort of laser system on here. It's not mandatory to have, but yes, it can help make you an asset. And let me tell you why. There's 2 awesome options built into these lasers. This is the Envision rail here. You have a visible laser that can be used as, guess what? Like a backup aiming system, a backup iron sight even. You can use these indoors and even outdoors. And you also have an IR laser. Now, you guys fantasize about your guns and optics breaking very, very often. You probably need to look into that. Which leads me to the next point, guys, backup iron sights. You either love them or you hate them. You either want more rail space or you don't mind having them on there. Here's my opinion. If you like them, put them on your gun. If it gives you that peace of mind, just have them on there. Here is the only suggestion I can give to you is that if you have some sort of like LPVO on here, you have a red dot sight, if you can't utilize those irons while whatever scenario that you have made up that your optic has exploded, it's gotten shot or whatever reason, you need to be able to remove that optic in order to utilize those iron sights. Because if you don't carry around the tool to take this LPVO off, to utilize those irons, like what are you doing? Like you can't utilize them, and then at that point it's just more weight and expensive decor on your rifle. Don't overthink this, but if you do decide to run them, have a way to be able to utilize them. Now, grips and bipods, what do you do? This is ultimately, guys, it's going to be user preference. I'll talk about how I employ each one of these. Maybe you can arrive to your own educated decision after listening. So when it comes to a bipod, I think you're going to have to do a lot of precision shooting in order to justify a bipod on this general purpose rifle. It's nice to have it on there. There is no ifs and buts about that. How often are you actually kicking out your legs to take a knee to shoot off a table? How often are you realistically kicking out the legs to shoot prone? You have to decide that for yourself. If you do that very, very often, maybe you should look at a bipod. Or you can go with grip pod. And last but not least, guys, a trigger. In my opinion, every single rifle that I get needs a trigger change if it's not a Geissele SSAE or some sort of really good quality 2-stage trigger. It is not imperative for you to change that out. I find it for myself. I love the performance of those. Here's my 2 recommendations. Geissele SSAE or SSA or LaRue MBT if you want to get more closer to that budget side. Other than that, guys, we have a very, very capable fighting carbine here. This is the pinnacle, in my opinion, of the general purpose rifle, the do-it-all firearm. It's the pinnacle, and this is, in my opinion, guys, the one most important AR-15 that you can possibly own. If you can only own one, this is what it's going to be. So, with that being said, as always, guys, run your gun, not your mouth. We'll catch you next time.